Good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show. My name is Patrick Soko and I'll be joined by my co-host Sharon Karimbola a little later. And as usual on the Camnet Breakfast, we bring you nothing but the very best of information and education. Just to get us started with the program this morning, we'll go straight into the first segment we call Morning Booster with Isaac Machisa, so that we can work on a 5 minutes drill there. Stay tuned.
It's a beautiful morning and I welcome you to Morning Boost. I'm so glad that you've tuned in and hope you had a great night. So let's do some workouts this morning and we're going to have a great time. So we're going to start with a warm-up and then make some aerobics movements for today. Okay, ready? Let's go. A beautiful morning to everybody and welcome to Morning Boost. Let's go. Go. And the V step now. Let's go. Last V step. Back to step touch. V step. Let's go. Let's go. And march in. And 4, 3, 2, step touch, go. Bring in your hands now. Let's go, let's go. Just a quick workout in the morning. Not a full-fledged workout, no. Keep going. And 4, 3, 2, hamstring, go. Four, 3, 2, step touch. Four, 3, 2, and hamstring. And 4, 3, 2, step touch. Let's go, let's go. Let's go. Keep going, stay at it. Go. Easy basic workouts for the morning. And march in. Skip, jump now, go. Let's go, skip. Try this. Even if you feel heavy in your body, you can do this. Let's go. There's always a first time. You may struggle, but it's doable. Let's go. And 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Change now. Let's go. Very easy for a morning workout. Lift your knee very high. Go. Let's go. Stay at it. Stay at it. We're going to bring in a kick now from a knee high to a kick. Go. go. Let's go. Let there be a blood circulation on your legs so that you don't have that numbness you feel at times. Kick. 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 Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Straight kicks now. Go. Straight kicks. Go in the sides. Okay, keep going. Almost done with our 5 minutes workout. Knee high. Try this every morning. It's gonna do wonders to your body. Let's go, we're almost there. All right, team. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. This is Isaac Matza, your presenter. I'm gonna see you next time at the same time, and have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
There you have it, Isaac Machisa there with the morning workout. It just takes 5 minutes, and you can make sure that you do that morning drill. It is important that you keep fit, considering that we are living at a time of non-communicable diseases. So you have to make sure that you do that morning exercise to just keep fit, especially now that it's a colder season. The weather is just too cold, and it is too good for exercising. So just be sure that if you are exercising, then you are taking care of your health. Otherwise, you risk being affected by NCDs, which are diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and etc. So just be sure that doing an exercise is a good thing that you can do for yourself and your health. And just now, it is the right time for us to have our next segment we call a Health Corner, where the Zambian Women Medical Association continues to help us with various issues pertaining to health issues. And today we have Dr. Chipoya, who's going to help us with diagnosis on polio. She's going to help us understand this aspect, and which is very important because, as you already know, the country is currently undertaking polio vaccination amongst young people or children, and we just hope that you've managed to make sure that your children get vaccinated against polio. There is Dr. Chipoya with that explanation on polio diagnosis.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Dr. Musole Chipoya, an epidemiologist at the Zambia National Public Health Institute, focusing on vaccine-preventable diseases. And I'm also a member of the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Today, we'll continue our discussion on poliomyelitis. We'll have a short recap on our previous two discussions, which has been what is poliomyelitis, as well as how can we prevent polio. We'll also get into details of the pathophysiology as well as the clinical presentation before getting into today's discussion on the diagnosis of polio. So polio is a highly infectious disease. It is transmitted through the fecal-oral route, so through ingestion of food or substances that are actually contaminated with the polio virus. It can be prevented, and prevention is through taking the vaccine, the polio vaccine, which is usually given to our under 5 children at different times. Then in addition to that, we will also recap on the clinical presentation. We talked about how patients with poliomyelitis present, that we have 70% of people who present with, who are actually asymptomatic but are infected. Then we have the 30% who have mild symptoms. They'll have symptoms which are flu-like symptoms, and we have the 1% with paralytic symptoms. How it affects the body, we talked about it affecting different parts of the body. It can either give us nausea, vomiting, fever, and headache, or we can have the severe symptom, which is actually paralysis, which is a lifelong disability. In addition to that, we also want to note that there is no cure for polio, and prevention is the only way that we can protect ourselves and our children from this virus. We get back into our discussion today. For this session, we'll be looking at how exactly is a diagnosis of polio made. So when we have a case with presenting with sudden weakness of any limb, sudden weakness, which is a floppy type of weakness in any limb, it can be the legs or the arms, these children have to be investigated for poliomyelitis. So how do we investigate? We cannot make a clinical diagnosis, meaning when you walk into the hospital, the doctor cannot say for a fact without doing any test to rule out other causes or to actually put a finger on it to say this is polio. And the only way that we'll actually know this is doing investigations on the stool sample. Like we said, this virus is ingested through the mouth, or we take it in through the mouth, and it comes out through the fecal matter. So we test the fecal matter. We test stool samples, and those are the ones that will actually tell us whether or not this is a there is a poliovirus in the stool or not. And when this diagnosis is made is when we can actually go for palliative care. As we said earlier, there is no treatment for this virus. So how are the samples collected? We're collecting 2 stool specimens, and these specimens are collected 24 hours apart. So when we collect 1 stool specimen today, the next stool specimen will be collected 24 hours later. We will not collect both specimens on the first or rather on the same day. And when these samples are collected, we are supposed to store them at a certain temperature. So it is important that before you actually start the process of sample collection, that you are advised by the doctors or the laboratory technologists how exactly this sample collection is supposed to be done and how the samples are supposed to be stored, so that we do not destroy the virus if it is actually there in the sample, and we actually have an accurate diagnosis at the end of the day. So when we collect these 2 specimens, they are then supposed to be transported to a virology lab at the University Teaching Hospital. This should not be at the cost of the patient, but totally at the cost of the Ministry of Health, who is supported by various partners for these samples to actually be collected as well as to be investigated. So that is all we have for you for today. We have discussed how exactly a diagnosis of poliovirus is supposed to be done. Thank you for joining us in this session of discussing poliovirus. Keep watching Camnet TV. My name is Dr. Musole Chipoya from the Zambia National Public Health Institute and a member of the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, an interesting discussion there on diagnosis of polio from Dr. Chipoya. A very elaborate discussion there. I didn't actually know that that's how polio is diagnosed and how it is treated, and at least I get to understand. And that's courtesy of the Medical Women Association of Zambia. They continue to bring us interesting issues pertaining to health, and we are getting informed. By the time I'm clocking a year, I think I'll be a doctor by default. But I just want, I just know that I want to go and open a pharmacy.
A pharmacy, a doctor by default. And hopefully you won't start giving prescriptions to people, you know.
I know how polio is diagnosed. But yeah, but information is power. So it helps me to make decisions, even at personal level, family level. Also inform people to say, if there's this situation, go and seek medical attention, because I've read the Medical Women Association of Zambia commenting on such issues. So I'm able to give advice to say, go and see a doctor. If it is a tooth, we've been informed on how to do.
Indeed, Patrick, I think there was some quietness for many countries regarding polio, but I think Malawi revived the whole thing because it started recording cases of polio, and other countries as well just revived the vaccination process of children so that they can prevent this. This, I don't know if I can call it condition. You are paying very much attention. You want to be a doctor by default. Is it a condition or a disease?
It is a disease. It's actually a deadly virus, according to the doctor. It's actually not untreatable. So the best is the prevention.
Prevention, exactly.
So that's quite dangerous.
Viruses basically, Patrick, they are untreatable.
Yeah.
You just either treat the symptoms
all these things,
and
just to
you
make
prevent it.
Believe,
the best is to prevent it. Yes, exactly.
That's...
So when it comes to viral diseases, I think it's not an easy thing, really. And
so just like cholera, Sharon, you can actually inject it by eating food that is contaminated by.
But at least it's curable.
Polio, you see. So the best is that take your children to
get those vaccines and then prevent this disease. Patrick, a very good morning to you once again. I just got here on set and I've seen that Isaac Macha has done the needful as usual. He never ever disappoints. To you, our viewers, thank you so much for choosing us. This is the Camnet Breakfast Wednesday edition with me, Sharon Kalimbula, and Patrick Soko there on the other chair. I don't really like saying the other side. It seems, you know, when I say the other side, it's like you're in the other room. But we are actually seated on the same side here.
Yeah.
So we will be zooming into some of the stories that made headlines yesterday, Patrick. Very interesting stories regarding Boma and Usambo. Escapists.
Yes. We have interesting stories today, Sharon. But today, before I do that, I have to make sure that you tell the people the currency is performing.
It is, Patrick. I'm just interested in to see, to
rewatch. To rewatch Bowman. Before you rewatch Bowman, can we have the money market?
Let's look at the money market and see how the kwacha is faring against the major convertibles. So the United States dollar is buying at 16 kwacha, wow, 84 ngwe, and selling at 17 kwacha, 17 ngwe. The Great British Pound is at 21 kwacha, 12 ngwe, and selling at 21 kwacha, 54 ngwe. The euro is at 18 kwacha, 89 ngwe, and selling at 19 kwacha, 26 ngwe. Wow, the South African rand is at 1 kwacha, 06 ngwe, and selling at 1 kwacha, 080 ngwe.
You said wow.
I said wow. You know the 16. The kwacha is at 16.
Yeah, yes, it is.
Political mileage. I saw a statement yesterday. One of these politicians actually, these praise singers, you know, saying, no, I think by June we're going to have a single digit what. But anyways, June is soon. It's just next month.
But I would be happy with that, because that would mean cheaper fuel for us and paying less in terms of transport, because we're spending more on transport.
If at all it ever goes down. But the Road Transport and Safety Agency was in conversation with some of the associations regarding in the transport sector, including the Ministry of Health, a Ministry of Transport and Logistics rather, but nothing conclusive came out. Obviously, they really don't want to reduce the bus fares the way they do when fuel prices are increased. Maybe they're just waiting per month and or they say we will not reduce because we will not increase because last time we didn't reduce. I don't know what cards you're trying to play, but that is the status.
But they have to make sure that we start seeing the benefits as consumers, commuters as well, because when there's an increase in terms of the prices of fuel,
the adjustment is usually
they usually adjust within the shortest possible time. But now we are seeing them dilly-dallying, and we just hope that they conclude those talks, because we have to also benefit from that. And that will deem this whole process of monthly review relevant. Otherwise, it will be irrelevant. It will continue just pushing prices of commodities upwards, and they will never be coming down. And the danger is that if they are no longer coming down, is that we'll reach a time when people will hardly afford even to buy that same cooking oil for which politicians have been parading. So all those things. So if we are to be serious, we have to make sure that when prices of fuel reduce, the cost has to be transferred to the consumers. Just like the upward costs are usually transferred to the consumers. Indeed. We should do the same when there's that announcement.
Indeed, Patrick, those are some of the issues that keep coming up whenever there's such a situation, but clearly prices of goods and commodities do not actually reflect the reduction price that is done on almost anything. Even when electricity is reduced, for example, the prices of commodities will still remain constant. Would give an example of maybe these electronics, you know, you go in these shops, they'll always attribute the increase in prices to how the dollar is faring. But look at it, it's appreciating, it's a 16. They will not reduce. Why? Because according to them, they'll say, by the time to Danish dollar na so we need to maintain that price so that we don't get to make losses at the end of the day. So that's the excuse that these people usually make. But then there's always a way on how best it can be done, and hopefully the Consumers Association is working with these institutions to ensure that consumers really benefit and they're not exploited at the end of the day. Patrick Soko, before we go any further to this, you actually stopped me to look at the currencies. I'm stopping you to look at our day. Yesterday was 3rd May. Yesterday was 3rd May 2022, and obviously the Global Village was celebrating the media. It was World Press Freedom Day, and we were not on set yesterday, so we're taking advantage of being on set today and talking a little about our plight as the media industry. And later on in the show, we'll be having Zima President Jaja Coulibaly, and hopefully we will have a conversation regarding our space as the media industry. The theme for this year is journalism under surveillance, and Patrick Soko will obviously explain to us what that means. Are you being surveyed? Yeah. You know, but that it actually means something else. So we'll be talking about that as well, and you can also call in and appreciate us more and do. We are here because of you. Exactly. And we are here because we want to give you the correct information, and that correct information needs to be researched. There's actually a lot of work that goes in. There's actually a lot of risks that go in for us to bring in those great stories that will shape your ideas, shape society, and in turn influence change from these higher ranking officers of our country. So for now though, let's look at some of the stories that were making headlines as we zoom in 2 stories. One regarding the baby who was dumped in Lusaka's George compound. Quite a number of activities in that area. Yes. It's that area is always a hive of activity. It is. Quite George. So let's look at this story, and we also go to the story of Bowman Usambo. He was finally rearrested by the Anti-Corruption Commission, and thereafter we will continue to have this conversation. You two out there can call in and send in those text messages. Let's have this conversation and see how best we can shape our country. Good morning.
Life in densely populated areas like George Compound in Matelo constituency is a wonders complex. It is just last week when a matter surfaced where a man was allegedly defiling his 12-year-old stepdaughter. Tuesday, 3rd May 2022, the residents of the same locality woke up to the news of a woman dumping a newly born baby in the pit latrine. The infant was retrieved by the fire brigade. Emotions were high among members of the general public. Amid the commotion, the suspect was speechless and filled with shame. She had to listen to every negative comment from her neighbors. She had to be rushed into the police vehicle to avoid being lynched by elite members of the general public. The residents wondered why the woman decided to kill the baby. Matelo constituency, Lima Ward 30 councillor Daniel Mwewa has observed with concern the moral degeneration in the community as vices continue to be the order of the day.
As a local leadership, we are so worried and we are so concerned of the happenings in Lima Ward. Just 3 days ago, brothers were fighting, one of them died. Just last week, we had a report where a 44-year-old father was sleeping with a 12-year-old stepdaughter just within Lima Ward. So I think as leaders, we are so worried what is happening in our community. So especially good by
broadcast time, the Zambia Police Public Relations Unit was yet to give an official position on the matter. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Minutes after his alleged corruption case was adjourned to the 17th of May 2022, embattled Kawushi Member of Parliament Bowman Usambo spent close to 30 minutes inside the courtroom fearing of being rearrested by officers from the Anti-Corruption Commission who were patiently waiting for him outside this courtroom. But after spending those minutes hoping that the officers would change their mind and not effect the warrant of arrest, Mr. Usambo seemed to have gathered his courage and faced the officers who immediately pounced on him. He was arrested at the Lusaka's Magistrate Court Tuesday morning, where he was appearing for a mention in a case he is jointly charged with his wife with 10 counts of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime, conspiracy to defraud and tax evasion.
What has he done? What has he done? You brought all these police to take an arrest. Yeah? Say what he has done. What has he done?
Insala ichemo mchalo. Insala full.
Bundled in an SCC open van, the embattled lawmaker who refused to sit down said arresting and bundling him in a vehicle at the instigation of the president will not help resolve the main problems that Zambia is currently facing.
Insala kulide mchalo. So umi tumine mwe mwebe ati. Problem ni insala not Bowman. Okay. Insala ne na ona Bowman enough. No sir, no find out.
Sala jumene ni too sharp. Sasa pato ishi sharp kwa sharp kama wala. Instead mimi mkuti defin tu ifidi ikwete chala. Kaka kubola. Umulandi wansala abantu mchalo. Mwacha wandu wale kutusha pesa promoter, don't worry. Never put ifi tazikwete nchito. Uba tumine insala. Insala uba tumine mwe mwebe umtumina insala efi mchalo noti woman ukitaka bomani ona mama itaka bomani ndo awe tafali mkwa insala efi kulile mchalo kale michusha nisaka mala kapwa
According to the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, Mr. Usambo has been arrested on charges of interfering with witnesses. The embattled lawmaker, who is also former Lusaka Province Minister, is alleged to have interfered with witnesses in the alleged corruption case he is currently facing before court. The commission has since slapped him with 3 counts of attempting to interfere with witnesses, contrary to Section 112(1)(b, as read with Section 389(1) of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the Laws of Zambia. He is expected to appear in court soon on the same allegations. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
There you have it, Bowman Usambo in the open van for the Anti-Corruption Commission after evading the law enforcement agencies for quite some time.
Yeah.
At some point, he even reported to say, I have COVID, I can't appear in court. And those that have been following these court sessions, like Miriam Kayamba, said no. Obviously, he's just trying to evade being apprehended because he's a target, actually. And he's been evading to appear before these law enforcement agencies, and they are waiting for him to just appear in court. Once he just comes out of the courtroom, then the man is cleansed, and obviously that's what happened yesterday. And he was there actually saying, "Is Salah." Patrick, it's Salah, not Bowman.
Not Bowman. Nikate ni Salah.
Bowman ni Salah. Nafi Pusana. This man. Always a bully.
And
I
promised to promote the police officer as well.
He promised to promote the police officers, but in what capacity is what I'm wondering about. But he expressed
I'm going after 5 years.
After 5 years.
But he's been there. He could have promoted them.
Exactly. He was Lusaka Province Minister. He was Commonwealth Minister.
He was also a friend to the Home Affairs Minister.
To the Home Affairs Minister, I would have recommended some of these police officers to say, my friend, please promote these. They're doing a very good job. And he's only seeing now that these people are suffering.
To be promoted.
He's only seeing now that these people have got bad shoes, you know.
Yeah. But also as a leader, that's being sarcastic.
Exactly.
Think so?
He was just politicking for.
Do you need to start disparaging the officer
who are just doing their job?
Because he's also a family man. He needs a certain element of respect or dignity has to be accorded to him, just like you would want to be treated fair. And we had a story, Sharon, that has been trending on our Facebook page, where the former minister, Mr. Stephen Kampyongo, was equally saying that he treat us better,
with dignity.
With dignity, because we are former ministers.
We are former ministers.
Yeah,
and now
it was speaking to when Bowman was arrested. Should be probably some dignity is there, because I remember when those suspects were taken to court, they were being stepped upon, they were being handcuffed, you see. But Mr. Usambo was just arrested normally and
to say jump in the van
with dignity.
At least there was transport.
Yes.
You know,
and the vehicle he was using is also quite
good, a bit comfortable.
If you see how people are abandoned in the Kasaranga to appear before courts, you will be concerned.
You will be concerned. But anyways, those are some of the stories that are making headlines, and we will still continue to zoom in some of these stories. Remember, you can call in and send us those text messages. Let's have this conversation. Development is personal, and if we take it personal, we will be able to hold government accountable, those in authority accountable. We will be able to follow these matters to the latter. Let's just not be told to say, okay, there's this, there's this. How are you going to hold them accountable if you don't know the genesis of things? So you can be calling in, have conversations. Let's educate one another on various topics of national interest. Patrick.
Yeah, quite an interesting and area. Before we had gone for a break, we were indicating something regarding the press freedom. I think that's something that various journalists reflected upon yesterday. A number of issues, even the reports that were covered here on Camnet TV, we saw a number of aspects that journalists actually representing their industry, talking about issues that affect them. We've come to understand that in this media industry, there's goodwill under the United Party for National Development Administration in terms of safeguarding the media.
At least.
It is also about how the media moves in fast. I will also borrow the words of one Brave Nachangala, who is a civil rights activist, who was saying, while the government is excited, make sure that you do the most out of their excitement to ensure that there is a free press. You know, sometimes what agitates administration is the ability when things are not going on well in the nation, when the journalist starts bringing out those critical stories, politicians get agitated and they think you are an enemy of the government.
Indeed, Patrick.
And that doesn't be the case, because journalism's loyalty has always been to the people and to the public. They do not owe any politician an explanation. They owe explanations to the general public by ensuring that they represent their interest. What is the interest of the journalists? Is to ensure that there's a better society. Every time journalists wake up in the morning, they think about how is this CDF going to be managed better to safeguard the interests of this community. So journalists only help this administration to ensure that there is development, that people are well taken care of. Rights violation, you can imagine that without the media, how citizens' rights would be stamped upon, because you understand, Sharon, we've been talking about justice being a preserve of the rich.
Yes.
Not because it is a preserve of the rich, it's because they have the knowledge, they have the resources, they are able to hire the lawyers.
They may not be able to understand, but they will hire the lawyers who understand exactly what they need to do and what steps they need to take. And lawyers are very sharp human beings.
Yes.
And they will actually even turn around a case that is really, really clear, you know. But you know how the court operates with evidence.
Yes.
You know? So if there's no evidence, if at all the lawyers manage to source for evidence here and there, even fictitious, you know, evidence, as long as she represents court, Mulandu are wrong.
Yeah,
so basically
those
that's
are
how
the
the
issues. And if you look at the recent incident which you handled, you and Prudence, in garden area of Kanyama, we saw an issue where that family doesn't know their rights, because I cannot force a horse to drink water. I can't compel you to drink water.
No.
Drink water. You have to drink it. You know. You see. And to make the matters worse, it was kachasu, and they are saying it was number one, which is undiluted. So you can't force someone. But you see, these are issues. We say we compared the same scenario to Forest Reserve 27. They are, because that area, there are judges there.
Yes,
there are lawyers there who are having properties in Forest 27. We have the doctors, we have the former presidents, we have these people, and these people are well vested in terms of what is at their disposal in terms of legal issues, in terms of in terms of resources, they can hire lawyers, and we didn't see the council, Sharon, moving instantly to go and demolish the structures there.
They'll end up losing even more. So
yes,
they're trading on a snail's pace and dangerous grounds, and therefore they understand the people that they are dealing with. The more reason why we say it's always good to have a lot of educated people, because they will understand what their rights are. Just basic rights. Really.
Yes.
We're not asking anybody to be a lawyer or something like that.
Yes, education.
But basic rights will be understood, and they will know where their rights end, you know. But then, as it is in most of these densely populated areas where people are vulnerable, they don't really understand what they possess in them. They have a lot of fear. They are not empowered. You know, they'll just look at this person who's moving just because they have a title. They'll think this person is like a god, you know, somehow, for us Christians, because will compare the highest authority to God and will say, Iwe, you're not God. Because, you see? You want me to treat you like a god? I mean, there's only one God. That's all. So really, if you come to me behaving like a god, I'll say, boy, move aside. You're not God, you know, because I'm empowered. I can speak my mind and I'm able to know and understand to say I can reach this limit with these people, regardless of who they are in society. But then we have the majority of people that really do not even understand their basic right, like I said. However, these are stories that we continue unearthing and making you people understand out there that there's so much of a gap between the rich and the poor, and these are the intricacies that come into play. You know, when you're poor, I don't really like to use this word, maybe let me use vulnerable. You don't understand your existence. You don't understand that you have a voice, you know. But there's one person that actually spoke on that same story. He was like, we want you to help us become better citizens. Since we this is guys, you know. And for me,
Vigavenga.
Yes.
What is Vigavenga?
Nietzsche, what do you call this? I want to bring it to a
It's empowerment now.
Like
Kawala. Honorable member.
Like Kawala. Kawala. You know.
Yes, a thief.
A junkie. You people call them junkies nowadays. Yes. Chimomo actually would actually say it's not junkie, it's junk. It's not junkies, it's junk. So yeah, these youths that have become disoriented, for lack of a better term. So, you know, that's how they were treated, like they're nobodies. But who wants to be treated like that? I think, I mean, don't break me, don't break my ego, just leave me. I mean,
so I think if you ask me, these are challenges that point to the fact that there's a disconnect between the leadership and the community.
Yes.
It's the people on their own, the leadership on its own. Because if you see, people hardly interact with their leaders in various localities, and that's the problem. Yeah. So you find that there's that gap. People just live their own way, on their own means. There are no authorities to actually help them manage things. Even the simple aspect of garbage is an issue. People have to manage it on their own and find illegal means of doing that. And what society are we creating? If you're not providing a solution, just know that people find a way to survive. And that's the way people in the transport sector find a way to survive. The council hasn't been coming in. The population has been growing, while the council has been stagnant with Rima Tower and the city market. People have been creating their own bus stations. So don't be surprised when Sharon opens a bus station at our own premises, because she feels it's convenient there.
Exactly.
Because you're not coming to see this area is growing. Kamwara South is growing. How can we ensure that the services are provided there? So these people find solutions on their own, and they create that informal setup, and they continue sharing the resources amongst that informal arrangement. And you come in at the later stage to say, they are getting money which should be going to the council. Where were you?
Where were you at the initial stages? That's where the problem comes in, because you've seen a lot of illegal structures, what they call illegal structures, being demolished. And you know how people build nowadays. You know, they'll put these three-story houses, fancy houses. They always say, you know, that's where the issue also comes in. Waku Forest 27. That's why, because people have built houses there, mansions, Patrick. You know, but then when you bring down that structure, the legal implications come in. You're going to have to pay them what they used to put those structures. Are we ready for that as a country? Story for another day. However, we continue to bring you these stories.
Another interesting story was on the Operation Young Vote, where they were talking about that other youth who was actually attacked by suspected UPND cadres. Is suspected to be a PF youth who had attacked the UPND, and it was time for revenge.
They ganged up on him.
Yeah, and that's quite a sad development there when you talk about human rights and people taking the law into their own hands, which should not be encouraged.
Yes, indeed. Let's look at that story, Isaac, as we go to the story for World Press Freedom Day. Is it?
Yes.
Isaac?
In a democratic country, the media is placed fourth from the three arms of government being the executive, judiciary, legislature, and then the media as the fourth estate. The basic role of the media is to bridge the gap of information by sending across messages of entertainment, educational, and informing in nature. In the course of duty, the digitalization of the world, political interference, among other reasons, have placed journalists, the people charged with the responsibility of correct information dissemination, under threat. With these challenges not being addressed, others have died in the course of duty, fighting for correct information dissemination. 3rd May each year is dedicated to the media, aimed at celebrating their space globally. In Zambia, journalists from various media houses turned up to celebrate their day, recognizing the gains and losses made this far under the theme Journalism Under Surveillance. News Diggers managing editor Mukosha Njenga is calling for responsible journalism in the era of social media.
The space where we are right now, with these smartphones comes also a lot of room for surveillance, where there are threats where someone can maybe hack your phone and they can be monitoring who you're talking to and putting your sources at risk, especially with the work that we do at News Diggers, where we are into investigative journalism. We try as much as possible to protect the whistleblowers who come to us, but then there's always a threat from outside because not everyone wants certain information to come to light. So that's where now the issue of surveillance comes.
The theme for me is timely. You realize that we are always being looked at as people that will help in other people giving information that will shape ideas or just basically the talk of the country. So journalism under surveillance basically calls for us to continue doing our job and ensuring that we do it to maybe the best of our capabilities. When you talk about
today's theme, actually reminds us as journalists to cast our nets wider, even as we disseminate our information away from the usual traditional media. If you look at the environment now, more people are accessing information online using various media tools. So this calls for the media to also expand in the manner they inform and disseminate information.
Particularly for a journalist who has over the years faced a lot of challenges, ranging from unconducive working environment to working conditions from respective media houses where we come from. How is this one special? It is special because we have a new government. We have an administration that in opposition promised a conducive working environment for the media.
The media operational space has been marred with conflict, especially with the political party cadres and sometimes the police. But these journalists spoken to acknowledge the significant improvement of the operating space since the United Party for National Development took office.
Given that where we are coming from, there was a lot of threats and intimidations. A lot of media houses were closed down, a lot of threats were made. But then with this new government now, I think we would be unfair if we don't mention the fact that so far, while they have been in office, I think any journalist will attest to the fact that there's this new aura of freedom that we all feel, and we are more able to enjoy our work right now.
I think that we should commend the current government is the issue to do with cadres. I think this was not the situation a few months ago, because you'd always be intimidated by the cadres, but the current regime has put their foot down to ensure that cadres are not there to harass journalists, and I'm only hoping that this will go on for many years to come. That be a bit controversial, but if we are given what we want, I think that's it. We only need to be given what we want.
And so in the new Dawn government, the operating space has been friendly, free from harassment so far, and we hope this continues.
Prudence Chota is Camnet TV senior journalist who says the enactment of the Freedom of Information Bill will further strengthen the ability for journalists to operate freely.
Imagine waking up today and there's no news. people literally have to depend on social media for news. There would be chaos in the world. Newspapers with no news, television with no news, and we tell people to rely on the news that they'll get online. There's going to be information, misinformation. There's going to be information that is not verified. This gives us a perspective of how important mainstream media is. So even as we see a lot of digitalization, as we see a lot of online platforms coming up, as we see a lot of people doing citizen journalism, that does not imply that they are doing the actual work that the journalists do. So it's high time people started appreciating the work that people do.
Lack of the Access to Information Bill, I think this is something that the previous regime spoke about. There was intention for it to be passed. The current regime has spoken about it, but again, what is disappointing is that they are taking it back to different stakeholders for consultations. But I feel for the last 20 or so years we've been talking about this. For me, my understanding is that different issues have already been discussed.
Meanwhile, Charles Zulu is Diamond TV photojournalist, always behind the camera. This time around, he's in front of it.
Most of the times when we go out there in the field, we are not given we are not at free liberty to execute our works properly, because sometimes we get caught up in the crossfire. We'll be in the midst of cadres, violence. We are most of the times chased out because people wouldn't want, probably they would prefer not to be filmed, not allowing the journalists to do their work because they feel infringed on their rights, probably on their privacy. But the thing is, we're the fourth estate.
We continue to watch the space as we keep on offering balanced information for the public good, regardless of being under surveillance. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
A video has surfaced on social media depicting a Patriotic Front cadre being brutalized by suspected United Party for National Development UPND cadres. The victim, identified as Balatoli, is seen in police handcuffed and can clearly be seen to have been beaten and brutalized, as noted from the conversation by the UPND cadres.
Wadaba uniona lero nifunza wadaba uniona iwe sunga ziba ati apa chamene nichita nichoipa barotel sunga ziba ati ichi nichoipa kazi yanga iwe vene nanga pamene imvera iwe barotel pamene mwenzo oshoka ku maliro ya Gaddafi munzana alira na nina maliro mapaya ba PF vene futi wanyamuka iwe barotel mwenda ku maliro kuja wendo yambo ochira chani wambo opanya vakudya kutira chani mwenzo kaniza chani.
However, Operation Young Vote Executive Director Ges Nyirenda has condemned the act by the cadres and has called on the Ministry of Home Affairs to identify who is behind the torture of the said victim and why the victim was handcuffed.
On one hand, we see that government, and especially the president, is doing his level best to ensure that this cadreism and thuggery violence comes to an end. But on the other hand, we see that there are these elements that are doing everything they can to dent the name of the president, everything they can to dent the name of the UPND. We call upon the UPND to ensure that they take charge of these particular persons. We call upon the president to ensure that the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security takes charge of that particular matter.
Mr. Nyirenda adds that there are better ways of expressing one's grievances whenever they are wronged, which is reporting the matter to the law enforcers and not taking the law in one's hands.
So we call upon the relevant authorities to take charge, to move in quickly and ensure that they arrest, they bring to book those people who are behind this particular video, those who are torturing that particular person, those who handcuffed that person and brutalized him. I mean, if people felt that they were brutalized when the PF was in power, they have they have the law, they have the institutions that can do what is supposed to be done. This is a government of laws.
And police spokesperson Ray Hamonga did not respond to the query over the matter by broadcast time. Cadreism was at its peak in the previous Patriotic Front administration, where cadres could torture innocent people and walk scot-free. While the issue of cadreism angered a lot of citizens, taking the law in one's hand for those who came in contact with the cadres does not help the situation, but only worsens things, hence the need to ensure that the law is respected. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News. The Anti-Corruption Commission has Tuesday, 5th May 2022, apprehended former Tourism Minister Ronald Chitotela in connection with investigations on possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. The arrest is in relation to a case in which Mr. Chitotela, while serving as Housing and Infrastructure Minister, was in May 2019 arrested and charged with 9 counts of possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. A settlement agreement was, however, entered into between the then Commission management in the previous government and Mr. Chitotela in accordance with Section 80 of the Anti-Corruption Act No. 3 of 2012. And Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Emmanuel Mwamba has alleged that it is unconstitutional for the Anti-Corruption Commission to commence fresh investigation in a case in which an agreement was already reached between the Commission and the offender.
The matter of Mr. Chitotela, from what we understand, is that those negotiations took place under the Pre-Negotiations and Agreements Act of 2010. The law allows, under the SEC Act of 2012 and this particular act, for the law enforcement agency to go into an agreement if they feel that the evidence they have is not really prosecutable, but they are justified that there could have been some commission of crime. So negotiations are entered into.
Mr. Mwamba argues that the arrest of Mr. Chitotela has emanated as a result of President Hakainde Hichilema's directive that the case be reinvestigated. It says such is an abuse of office, as the president has no rights to direct the investigative body to reopen a case that was closed.
The president should not direct law enforcement agencies to pursue matters on individual basis. The president should let law enforcement agencies act professionally. We need to promote independence of these institutions. We need to ensure that the president is divorced from these proceedings. And if the SEC have acted because the president directed, for me that will be a fight of corruption being used as a tool to oppress political opponents.
Monday, 25th April 2022, President Hichilema informed the media that a named former cabinet minister was acquitted in a matter. He was arrested and charged with 9 counts of possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. The president wondered why the suspect only paid 100,000 kwacha for the offense and said he had asked that the matter be reinvestigated.
Use the same legal provision to forgive one of the sitting ministers in the previous government. When I took office, when you put me in office, I took interest to see, because I used to see one minister going to court. All of a sudden, he was not in court. I said, what happened? I want to see. I said to ACC, what happened to that case, DPP or whatever? They said, no, there was a settlement out of court using this law. And I looked at the settlement commission. I was horrified. It will come very soon.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're still watching Camnet Breakfast, and we are joined by Zambia Institute of Independent Media Alliance, ZIMA President Jaja Coulibaly. Is it Yaya?
Jaja.
Oh, Yaya or Jaja Coulibaly. And he will help us discuss 1 or 2 things regarding the media space in this country. Like we mentioned earlier when we were starting the show, it's like yesterday, 3rd of May 2022, basically not exactly 2022, but each year on the 3rd of May, we celebrate the media space under the auspices of World Press Freedom Day. And yesterday's theme, rather, for 2022 was journalism under surveillance. And him being a president for an independent institution that looks at the plight of the media, we will be talking about media issues. Patrick.
Mr. Coulibaly, to just get started with the conversation, how do you interpret the theme? Journalism under surveillance.
Okay, yeah. Like I was telling some colleagues yesterday, the theme is a very good theme, and it comes at a better time, like 2022, when the cybersecurity law came into place, came into effect. The theme came at a time when journalists were being monitored, gadgets were being confiscated, and conversations were being recorded. As a journalist, as a media body, we hold this theme and value it, and we see it as a theme that should make journalists reflect on their past conduct and their conduct going into the future. It is also a theme that should make leaders see that the laws they've been passing are bad, and this is how they will disadvantage the public and the media at large. So if you look at the theme, journalism under surveillance, the cybersecurity law was enacted just before the elections. That law has got the power, gives the law enforcement agencies the power to confiscate your gadget without any seizure notice, without having a search warrant. They can just, if they can even come right now and say, I'll get my phone, get your phone, his phone, and maybe 1 or 2 cameras. You can't question them. You can't take them anywhere. That's what the cybersecurity law says, and the power it gives to law enforcement agencies. So it's a theme that is talking to some laws that have been passed in our House of Parliament. It's a theme also that is reminding us journalists to be very careful in this digital space, because any day you can be picked. You can be home snoring, you can be picked, your gadgets can be gotten. Actually, that same cybersecurity law, you can have your phone confiscated for a year, for an unspecified number of days. So whatever they will be doing with your phone, you don't know. Zikta also has the power, with the help of Airtel, network providers, Airtel, Usambo, and MTN. They can record your conversation, Patrick, with maybe a confidential source, without notifying you that, Patrick, we are recording your conversation. And they'll get that audio recording, and they'll use it against you anywhere, be it in court, in public, or anywhere, and the police, and so on. So this is why we say this theme is very important. It's a theme that journalists must use to reflect on their past conduct and going into the future.
We understand that this law, when it was being enacted, mostly it was targeted towards the opposition and the media. And the current administration, while in opposition, assured to say, when we are elected into office, among the things we will seek to address is to repeal the cybersecurity laws. And they are not moving in that direction. Do we have hope that we are going to revise these laws, or they are excited with what they are doing to society?
To be honest, Patrick, what I would say is politicians are unpredictable people. They behave like chameleons. They change. They change colors at any given time. They can even tell you to say, I never said this. When you have a recording and a video, maybe a clip of them saying this, they will tell you to say, no, you actually edited this, or this was photoshopped. They will tell you that. And they've got the numbers. They've got the largest following. You don't have a following. Maybe you have a following of maybe 200 people or maybe 300 people, but they've got millions, thousands of people. So whatever they say will be taken as gospel truth. Whatever you present will be taken as fiction or something that you try to cook up. Going back to the promises that the New Dawn government made when in opposition, of course, Chapter 1 Foundation and other media bodies took the matter to court so that the implementation of the cybersecurity law can be halted. Of course, that drew a blank. The court okayed the law. But of course, we are confident that going forward, things will be changed. If you remember very well, the recent State House press conference, the president did mention that he was also not comfortable with the cyber security law. And he also said we as journalists must speed up the process of coming up with the ZAMEC bill. Of course, that is a statement of goodwill. It's a statement that gives a little bit of some hope. Again, when it comes to changing laws, we need to understand that the law doesn't change overnight.
It's not a one-day thing.
Exactly. It has to be taken to Parliament, and you really need to explain or conduct some sort of advocacy to the members of Parliament to change, to accept, to buy in actually. Because if members of Parliament don't want to change a certain law, we'll be doomed. Even the ZAMEC bill cannot go through if we don't make them buy in. So even the cyber security law, the current president HH can say, I want that law repealed. But can he repeal it? Does he have the power? No, he can't. Unless he goes back to Parliament, he tells them the benefits of repealing that law or amending it. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember very well, he actually said that law has to be amended. So it means they won't repeal it, they will just have to amend it and remove certain clauses that are draconian.
Yes.
Remember that word, you mentioned draconian.
Yes, I think the repealing, amending it is, I think, it's also okay way. Because if you look at the cyberspace as well, it has been also, that law also addresses some of the ills that are coming with social media.
Exactly.
And we just can't, just because some elements are affecting the media, you throw the entire law. So I think recommendations will be about you media bodies trying to recommend what would be the best way going forward so that we make progress. We also talked about self-regulation and how at which stage are we, and what is your perspective as Zima on self-regulation?
Okay, Zima has been part of this process from its inception, and is it two or 3 weeks ago, I was privileged to be part of the technical working group in Kafue that went to validate and iron out some changes to the bill that we want to be presented to Parliament. Of course, we sat with officers from the Ministry of Justice as well as officers from the Ministry of Information and Media, because those are the key ministries that we need on the table to have that bill move. So we discussed at length, and progress was made. We removed certain clauses that were holding that bill from moving at lightning speed. And now that we successfully removed those things, I think now what is remaining is the Minister of Justice to come up with a template that is in their language. I think you may be aware that bills are usually put in lawyers' language.
Yes.
Yes, and I think very soon we'll see, when the next session of Parliament opens, I think we'll see that bill presented. Of course, I know you may ask that what are some of the clauses that were subject of discussion. You might be aware that you guys, broadcasters, are regulated by the Independent Broadcasting Authority.
Exactly.
And there's also a very dormant act which is called the Prints and Publications Act, which is a regulatory body for newspapers and other printed publications, which is popularly known as the National Archives. When you print a paper, every day in the morning you're supposed to take a copy. Yeah. So those are the same two acts that are supposed to be amended before ZAMEC can comfortably come to regulate the journalists. By the way, ZAMEC will not regulate media houses like Camnet, KBN, Times of Zambia, Daily Mail, and so on. They will regulate the conduct of journalists. You as a journalist, Sharon, you as a journalist, Patrick, me as a journalist, I'll be the conduct of our conduct will be regulated, will be checked by the same ZAMEC.
How has been, Patrick, before you come in, how has been the operating media space? I mean, it's something that journalists have been complaining about. But before we come up with this ZAMEC bill and maybe it into law, there's surely something that can be done. And maybe is there improvement from the time that this new administration took office, at least 8-9 months, and how the media is operating?
Okay, I think I'll give it a 50-50 situation. I think I'll be unfair to say nothing has changed. Of course, when a head of state makes a pronouncement or says something with regards to a profession or anything with regards to governance, I think we take that as a policy statement. And if you remember very well, when the current president was elected, he did make mention of very, very positive things with regards to the media. And I think he also said that he does not want to see media houses being attacked while hosting politicians, or maybe having live paid for programs and so on. And I think we've seen that reduced. We can't say that has ended, but we've seen a reduction in that thing. Then also we have public media houses like ZNBC, Times of Zambia, Daily Mail. We've seen, I think, ZNBC airing news stories from opposition political parties. Of course, in the previous regime, I think we are all witnesses. We couldn't see any opposition leader unless those that were like-minded political parties with the ruling party. Those are the only opposition political parties that were given space. And the SADC Observer Mission, I remember the SADC Observer Mission report of 2016 did say 3% coverage was given to opposition political parties by the state media, which is Times of Zambia, Daily Mail, and ZNBC, which was very, very, very unfair and amounted to rigging, because rigging is not just through the ballot; it is also giving unfair coverage, or maybe limited time to opposition political parties. So, with the current regime, I think we've seen even those opposing the current government being featured on the national broadcaster. Then, of course, we are not happy with some sentiments from the New Dawn government MPs, like recently Hudson Mabeta did issue threats, threatening diggers that they would soon be closed down, just like the Post did, if they continued with their style of reporting and editorials, which continued attacking the New Dawn government. Also from the Secretary General, we did see him denying an audio or a story that was published by the news diggers, saying no, he was misquoted, until another recording was produced and shared in public. So we have those small snippets of trying to annihilate the media here and there. But of course, we cannot say that has gone without notice. We are taking note of small media rights violations, and we're also taking note of the positives that the New Dawn government has come with. We are happy that they've given us space to continue talking about the ATI, the ZAMEC bill, and so on. We know that the ATI has dragged. It's now 30 years. It's clocked 30 years.
Wow.
It's clocked 30 years.
It's Patrick's age.
Actually, it's older than me.
It's older than you.
So we are happy that they've also shown interest to ensure that the ATI will be enacted in the soonest possible time. Of course, they've been issuing conflicting statements. The permanent secretary says no, we have to consult. The minister says no. Very soon we'll be tabling the bill to Parliament. So we don't know who is saying the truth.
The truth.
Exactly, because
the uncoordination is too much. Let's talk about the uncoordination. It's part of information flow, and this is what we do as this industry. If I told the people that are charged with a responsibility, like you have mentioned, the PS, who is the controlling officer of the whole Ministry of Information, very important, exactly. You know, and the minister herself, they're speaking different languages, you know. Exactly. What does it mean for us as a country? Because they are also chief spokespersons for the government.
Exactly. If you check, the Ministry of Information and Media has always hosted the chief government spokesperson, who is the minister of that ministry. So I think we've seen a lot of uncoordinated responses and vague vague responses from that office. And of course, the permanent secretary also hasn't helped to cushion those sparks. So I think what would describe that ministry as a ministry that needs to be serious when it comes to dealing with public information. You know, when you are dealing with citizens, they are your sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
That ministry cannot operate without taxpayers' money, and citizens pay tax. So they are basically sponsoring that ministry to do their job. Actually, we pay the Minister of Information and Media to speak, to tell us the truth, to tell us what government is doing. The permanent secretary inclusive. So they are supposed to do their work, and their work has to be in such a manner that the public is informed in whatever government is doing, or what it intends to do in now and in future. Yeah. So yeah, we wouldn't say they must be fired, but I think they need to up their
They need to up their game and give us the correct information.
Exactly.
Let's just take a short breather. When we return, we have another guest on set as we continue to talking to Jaja Kulibali and our guest as well. Good morning.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast. Interesting. We had a conversation with Jaja Kolibari, the Zima president. Now is going to help me with this conversation we're going to have with Mr. Chilufya Tayari, who is the president for the Economic and Equity Party. He is going to talk about a number of issues, and topical is the issue of the AFRICOM, which is the office which the United States Embassy wants to set up in Zambia. Mr. Tayari has been talking strongly about this issue, and we just want to get his perspectives in detail regarding that issue and other matters pertaining to current affairs. Mr. Tayari, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here early in the morning.
We are glad that you could find time, though you delayed.
Yes, I delayed, and I must say that these are some of the repercussions of marriage. Marriage has got its own other aspect, but the other side is that you don't leave home until your wife says go. Otherwise, you won't be able to go back. So when she hasn't released you, you have to continue to wait. Even if you know that I'm getting late, but you have to abide. The power of women.
Interesting. Let's get to the topical issue, Mr. Tayari. The setting up of the Africa Command by the United States through the United States Embassy in Zambia. What's your take on that?
I mean, frankly speaking, from our point of view as Economic and Equity Party, and I'm speaking as a president as well as a citizen, we are against this office, this association, this corporation, whatever they want to call it. We are against, and we strongly urge this government to rescind on this decision. They have to rescind on this decision. They are breaking, an omen, in international diplomacy and sovereignty of our country. So we are against it. I know the Minister of Defense came up and said, no, they are not creating a base. It is just an office, of cooperation, military to military. Our response is that, Honorable Minister, whatever relationship, what we are saying is that we don't want American soldiers on our soil. We don't want American soldiers on our soil. Those people are a trouble, my brother. That is trouble that we are bringing on ourselves. America, number one, is in constant fight with different countries, different groupings, some of them very dangerous groupings. And they have been fighting. As we are talking, America is, dropping bombs, using their drones in the Middle East. And when these bombs are being dropped, they kill people indiscriminately. And people there are upset. And they are always fighting to, to fight back the Americans. And it might be difficult for them to attack Americans in America, but Zambia might just be a target, an easy target for them to come and, unleash their vengeance. And along the way, we never know who is going to be hurt. So that is the number one issue. We don't want them because they are a danger. It poses a danger to the Zambian people. That is the first thing. The second thing is that, America acts like a captain of this world. And they choose who should rule in whichever country, especially in countries where they have interests. Zambia, they have interests because Zambia is very strategic. By the very fact that we are in the center, it is very strategic for logistical purposes to have some kind of a base, whichever way they call it. I mean, they don't want us to call it a base, but whatever it is, but it's strategic. And Zambia, they would want Zambia so that they can be able to control other countries or the affairs of Africa from Zambia because of its territorial or geographical position. Now, that might be, you can be talking about the region, but even within us, they can influence our democracy. How? All along where we are coming from, we have had presidents, we have had governments that have refused this kind of agreement or this kind of relationship with America. They have refused. President Hakainde Hichilema has come in And it is right on this on this studio that I have been saying President Hakainde Hichilema is sponsored by the Americans. And this is clearly showing that, yes, they sponsored him, and now they are hatching, you know, what they had agreed, what they could have agreed prior to him becoming a president. And he's agreeing to everything. They have suspended, for example, another thing, they have suspended the mineral royalties on the mines. These are some of the things that they have been talking about. Now, since this Hakainde Hichilema is a darling to the United States and has even brought them inside, imagine in 2026 what will happen. Zambian people, it is very clear that Zambian people in 2026 will not want Hakainde Hichilema. But with the American presence around here, with their intelligence, their infrastructure...
Why wouldn't the Zambian people want Hakainde Hichilema in 2026?
My brother, this is a failed government already. We don't even have to go 8 months. 8 months, clearly they have failed. And they don't even show that a sign. It's like Mubola. You know, 2 minutes down the line, 8 minutes, you know, you are lost by 4 goals. And you see the way they are playing, our coach now, whatever. You can't expect that Mwala winner. You can't.
So I think, Mr. Tayali, if I draw you back to 2021, I think you were one of the opposition leaders that had showed support.
Yes.
For the current government. And
absolutely.
Condemned the previous regime.
Absolutely.
So is there anything that has changed?
A lot. Very good. It's a good question that you have asked my brother Jaja Kulibali. That's why I like journalists like you. By the way, I want to celebrate happy World Freedom Day. I mean, though it happened yesterday, but it's good. It's a pity that you are being bashed by this government spokesperson of the minister who was saying something that, anyway, I can't say on TV. But the point is, what has changed? Look, when I supported President Hakainde Hichilema, yes, I did. Where we are coming from, I was actually very critical of President Hakainde Hichilema. I was criticizing him for a number of things. But as we were getting towards the elections,
yes,
the PF really were too arrogant, and they had become so big-headed. They thought Zambia is theirs. They thought Zambia was theirs. You know, it belonged to these cadres and whatever. And I said, no, this is not acceptable. And when I said it, they arrested me. Okay, when I came out, I said, you see, I'm telling you that you are not treating the Zambian people right, and you are arresting me for it. I think in this instance, we would rather even try Hakainde Hichilema. I said, let's try him. You know, I know I've been critical of him, but because of the way the PF are behaving, let's try him. And indeed, the Zambian people heed to what I said, to try him. And we are trying him so far, 8 months. He has proved to be a more disappointment than President Edgar Lungu. Where we are now, Hakainde Hichilema is worse than Edgar Lungu in everything. They were at some point, I think, when he just won, I was here to say, no, Kadarism at least But look, Kadarism is crawling back, and it's crawling back dangerously, whereby even the police can't talk. You saw an image of UPND cadre, you know, in Livingstone, you know, even holding the uniform of a police officer. You saw this boy who was being beaten. He was in handcuffed. He was in handcuffed, meaning even the police were there. But look at how he was beaten. Buana, the UPND cadres, they will beat you in front of the police, and if the police misbehave, they will also beat them. This is dangerous.
That has just reminded me, last time you were in court over issues to do with HH. I think you were beaten right at the magistrate court. Before
him, and by then, and you see, you know, sometimes, you know, it's like relationships, also, I'm red flags. Red flags. When you are courting a girl, or when a girl is courting, look out for the red flags. And some of those red flags, I used to see them, but you know, because of the arrogance of the PF, I overlooked them. Look at HH. HH, in one of the cases, the first case, he went and reported me at Woodlands police station. He wanted me arrested on a Saturday, forgetting that he's an elder at 70th day. But he went. He had to work. Then, another case, he went and reported me in Livingstone. Livingston. And when I went there, Mana, for trial, the whole Livingston was around the court. I was saved by the police. I would have been lynched. I had to fly when I didn't even have the money, Mana. Fly to come back to do whatever. And you see, these are the things which are now happening. Look at Nakachinda. Reported where, so as when the guy committed a crime here in South Africa.
Now, I don't know if you are aware, there's a video of the UPND card saying this court case coming. They will make sure that they meet you at the court.
I couldn't announce. I was in court yesterday. I couldn't announce. I was scared because they actually said it, and they send even this is at Kadarism. At church is fighting Kadarism. Where these guys they go on, they make videos with their faces. They make videos and upload them on social media, threatening. Even on my post, they say Tayari must be killed, and no one touches them. No one touches them. You don't even need to report. The police see these things. But they are free to issue threats and whatever. And they wanted to come and beat me up. But God somehow, protects me because the date that they had given was 28th. So the cadres were thinking it's 28th, but 28th was a holiday. And the new date, which I was given on Tuesday, was communicated to me by phone. So the cadres didn't know when I was appearing in court. And surely if they had known, they would have come there. And you say HH is better than PF. No, this is more dangerous.
But he has said it that those who commit crimes are on their own and that law enforcement should do their work. Don't you think it is just the police who are not doing their job?
No, Bwana. I'm glad that, and let me not say I'm glad. Let me say I hope you are not falling on the hypocrisy of President Hakainde Hichilema. The hypocrisy of President Hakainde Hichilema, whereby he says very beautiful things. President Hakainde Hichilema, he says beautiful things. I mean, I'm surprised he only have one wife. Because with his sweet talk, I mean, those are men that would marry so many women, and each one of them believing that is the only one. He has got sweet talk. But what he does is something else. He says, at those who commit crime, they are on your own, on their own. Look, and he said that let me bring the context in which he said that. It was over the Miringo issue.
Yes, and we are coming to that issue.
Over the Miringo issue. But who started the negotiations? It is very clear. He himself admitted the people who started the negotiation is Hakainde Hichilema. And at the end of the day, he's standing around to say, no, when you commit a crime, when you do something, you are on your own. And you can't say it's the police. Because Hakainde Hichilema has got specific individuals that is targeting. And unfortunately, he is not even so presidential to withhold. Because some of these things, even if Ninkumonat, but I don't like this guy. I don't go at a press conference and express myself, But unfortunately, this man is so unpresidential. Is consumed by his emotions that he actually just says it. Nakachinda, this guy. Next day, Nakachinda, hey, this bomber, he was just whatever. Next, Uyo, arrested. Another person, there is another one, Chitotera. Though he didn't mention his name, but we can see clearly from what he said, it was Chitotera. Chitotera is arrested. So, this President Hakainde Hichilema, really, he can pretend when he's reading a speech written by him, by some experts, because we have been told that at State House there are these experts who are writing speeches for him. They write very good speeches, but what they are failing to coach him on is to be coherent to what they write for him.
Interesting. Let's talk about the issue of the DPP. You've been suggesting that she should be stripped of the oath of secrecy so that she can express herself on the matter pertaining to Milingolungu. Why is that? And don't you think we're going to render the aspect of oath of secrecy irrelevant if we are going to be removing it there and then?
You see, the oath of secrecy is given to, some senior government officers, okay? Because government, sometimes you handle sensitive issues. And let's face it, we have the constitution. But there are some times when in public interest, these people act in a certain manner, in public interest. And therefore, they don't want you to go out and start talking anyhow. And this is why they have that oath of secrecy. But with that oath of secrecy, they have said that only the president can allow you to speak. Now, in the case of Lilian Siyuni, what has happened is that there is a Midi Ngolungu who was highly publicized as a criminal. As a criminal, somebody was stolen from KCM. But these guys, the government, if I could put it this way, the government thought that in the public interest, this man should go. And they entered into negotiations. In the public interest, this man should go so that we can unlock this and, so that it can be contributing to whatever. Now, along the way, through that negotiations, at the end of the day, it ended up Milingo being, released of his cases through a nole and being given immunity or indemnity that he will not be prosecuted. It was a negotiations done beside behind closed doors by government in the interest of the Zambian people. Unfortunately, President Hakainde Hichilema, not being honorable, he goes back on what was agreed and have Miringolungu arrested. Now, he's arrested and they say, no, we didn't give him, we didn't tell the DPP to enter a nole and give immunity. She's on her own. Now, the government, on their part, they are saying, no, we are not part of this. Miringolungu is saying, no, we negotiated. You gave me this. How come you are going back and arresting me? But the DPP is not saying anything. How are we going to know the truth? How are we going to know the truth? The only way we can know the truth is if this woman speaks out. Did she do it on her own, or she did it as a result of the negotiations that were going on? Because negotiations were going on, and the outcome of that, according to logic, it's the nole and the indemnity that was given. And I'm sure Lilian did not do this on her own. Yes, like I've said, the law says that the DPP, is supposed to be independent and everything. But government, when it comes to issues relating to public interest, they sit together to say, okay, this is what the law says, but look, this is the situation. Let us do this. This is how you see even sometimes, even in prisons. Prisoners are released. Certain individuals, they are released. I can give you an example. Where we are coming from, you remember that Christian Tembo, the former vice president, was in jail because of what attempted coup. You remember that? Shamwana, you remember all those people? Mundia Sikatana, Yes, they committed a crime, but government sat and they said, no, in the interest of the public, let us do this. And those people were released. So these things happen. And unfortunately, because President Hakainde Hichilema is not being sincere, he's not being honorable, he's now throwing the DPP under the bus. And all of us, he wants all of us to blame the DPP. And yet the DPP cannot speak because she's tied by the oath of secrecy. Can he lift that oath of secrecy so that she can tell us what happened?
Another issue pertaining to the issues of you've been talking about during your press conference, the recent one, you talked about political parties uniting. Why do you think it is necessary this time around? Only 8 months in office of the United Party for National Development, you want to be uniting as opposition political parties?
Frankly speaking, I must admit that I have been very reluctant with these issues of alliances and whatever, very reluctant. Because I strongly believe that political parties are formed on ideologies. So it shouldn't be that easy for any political party leader to simply move from one party to the other and whatever, like Wamdalava Felix Mutati. I mean, I can't understand. I don't even know what ideology he espoused, because, he has been in all governments and yet even has his own political party. So I'm very reluctant. I am close to the PF, but I've never joined the PF, and I'm not PF. I still remain Economic and Equity Party. But at the moment, my dear, we have a monster that is eating us. And if we are going to remain isolated, it will finish us. It will be eating us one by one. And this is why I'm saying, much as, you know, I believe that we are independent political parties, I think we need to work together. So what I'm advocating for myself is not coalition, but alliances, where Economic and Equity Party remains as a party, where a Democratic Party with Hari Karaba remains as a party, where, you know, PF remains as a party, and so on and so forth. But at least we work together on common interests, especially that relates to the public. Otherwise, if we remain divided, I'm telling you,
he will do your account to because he's working, isn't it, or what?
Exactly.
Because he is going to deliver, isn't it?
Exactly. I like chepa social media. You know, social media, young people, they talk a lot. And they are also creative. They have a saying, which I saw on at Utuntu. They said, if you can't fix, you know, the economy, fix your opponents. At African proverb. I think that one should not be African proverb, but Zambian proverb. Or Zambian proverb. Hakainde Hichilema is failing in terms of sorting out the economy. There is no two way about it. He is failing and he has no clue. He doesn't even know where he's going. He had a press conference, 3 hours. 3 hours. When he was asked questions relating to the economy, he couldn't articulate. He just said, our hearts are with the people, with the Zambian people. We are working on this. Okay, Kanshi, in the long term, in the short term, what are you going to do? Nothing, no answer. No answer. And even as we speak, Hakainde Hichilema wants to be talking so much about the IMF. But, you know, again, you know, reading social media is very good. You get a lot of insights. Another guy wrote something. He said, you know, IMF is like, I don't know if it's Sean Table. I said, IMF is like that girl that you are pursuing, you know, and every day you are giving money, you are doing what, but in terms of Shingana Niko, nothing. Nothing. You are just busy investing, but nothing is coming. Violet Boster, when they came in, when they are giving out this budget, Vamdara is my father. Let me not say Vamdara, Vamsokotwane is my father. Vamsokotwane, my father, Honorable Msokotwane, he said, no, we have got IMF, we are going to employ people, we are going to do what, we are going to be liquid,
but
IMF is coming.
They are employing.
Which one have they employed?
The doctors and the teachers.
Have they been employed?
The process.
My friend, iwe olenda kwa tinifira beba mchiwe mbati mulembo wa chipuwa opwira muri tumfwe. They
are suggesting that they want to be, the teachers won't be employed and the health practitioners.
My friend, they said they were going to employ these people at the beginning of this year. We are now in the 5th year. And even the roadmap of how they are employing, because yes, they have thrown in their applications. Who can tell me confidently to say I'm going to be employed? Who? And when?
Because there are too many, Mr. Tayari.
There are too many. The point is, first of all, before you know, government has got the way it works. When you are employing people, first of all, you get the mandate from the Ministry of Finance that yes, money is there.
Yes, the federal authority was granted under the Ministry of Education, for instance.
Yes, they have said go ahead. Do they have the money? They don't. And I can tell you why I said it. Why I said they don't.
Why do you say so?
We have got teachers right now. Teachers, a lot of them. A lot of them, I think 3,000, who are working right now as we are talking. They are working, but I'm testing papers. They are working right now. They are not being paid. Why? Because they don't have the money. Yesterday, I also saw something which I need to confirm. But some people from civil service have been removed on payroll. Meaning, government doesn't have money. So now, they are exciting you. Propaganda of IHH. They are exciting you. Now we are employing 30,000 people. How can you talk about employing 30,000 people, and yet those that you have, those that were already employed, you can't put them on payroll? Teachers, it's a pity. For a long time, they have not been put on payroll. So clearly,
but this was another process of the PF administration. They started that recruitment of those teachers who were not put on payroll before creating the necessary space. And we saw the Teaching Commission, Mr. Tayari, saying that they were creating spaces by promoting some teachers, as well as retiring those who have reached retirement age, so they can create teachers for space for those teachers who were not on payroll, Mr. Tayari.
I like your confidence. I hope you have the same faith. I hope you could change, because your faith is admirable. It's really admirable.
So, Mr. Tayari, there are also some allegations from UPND sympathizers that you are being sponsored by the Patriotic Front. You're actually on a salary from the PF.
Is it true, Mr. Tayari?
Look, Mwala, if I
disparage the UPND.
Actually, for a long time, sympathizers of the UPND have alleged that you are a hired gun.
Very good. You see, this is a cliche. You know, they don't have anything to pin on you. Then they come up with all these funny things. My friend, there are so many stories that surrounds me when I take a different view. So many stories. A story which have even gone to an extent to say he has married a woman who has been married 5 times. You know, and yet my wife is just young and fresh and everything. But anyway, the point is, they come up with these stories. When I'm supporting them, you are telling me here, you asked me to say, you are supporting Haka in the Ichilema. When I was supporting Haka in the Ichilema, can we push Haka in the Ichilema if there is anyone who paid me? When I was supporting Haka in the Ichilema, that no, vote for Haka in the Ichilema, did they pay me? When Haka in the Ichilema was incarcerated on trumped-up charges of treason, I was standing with Haka in the Ichilema. I even came here, you gave me a platform to talk about that issue, criticizing the PF at that point. I was even arrested. I spent 8 days, Muma Seozi. Did Haka in the Ichilema pay me? Now, each time I say, no, formula you are wrong here. You have messed up the economy. Then they say, no. He is being paid. This is a cliche. Whenever, even our PF, even PF has also accused me, because even that time, when I started talking against Edgar Lungu, the PF also started saying, Haka in the Ichilema has given him 2 million. And yet Haka in the Ichilema has not even given me tungwe. At least tungwe. So this is what people say when I take a different view. But the thing is that Chirufa Tayari is a man of his own. And you cannot tame Chirufa Tayari. Even if Wadimpere, I've said this many times, even if somebody gives me money, at the end of the day, I say what I want. I say what I want. And the people that have given, I don't even hide. People like Bowman, I don't even say no. Bowman has helped me. But when Bowman was fighting with Messi, and I believed Messi was right, did I spare him? No. So it is neither here nor there. The issue of attacking Tayari personally, no, Shani, is wrong. The only thing that they should do is to listen to what I'm saying. Right now, the economy is bad. Whether Tayari is paid or not, the UPND, President Haka in the Ichilema, needs to look at the issue of the economy. That's why we voted for him. That's why we campaigned for him. And so far, he's a mess. So far, he's a disaster. And that's why I'm saying this is a disaster government with a disaster president.
So are you trying to say you are willing to offer solutions, or rather work with this government in finding the best solutions for this country?
I am always available. I'm always available to help the situation, whichever. You know, whatever, I'm always available. The only thing is that I don't want people to come with that mind that, you know, they will tame me. I'm ready to work with any government, But don't come with proposals that, you know, will silence me. You should be ready to allow me to tell you things as they are. A number of people say, you know, you would have, you know, I'm that guy who is admired like a beautiful girl, you know, in the village, which every man wants. I know I'm wanted by all these guys. They would want to work with me. I know. And they always say, the problem is they want to tame me. I'm not a dog that can be tamed. Forget it. And if you want to work with me, if you want my solutions, I can give the solutions. But be ready to face the truth. And so far, if I were to work with President Hakainde Hichilema, the number one thing that I would tell him to say, Hakainde Hichilema, number one, be a president and drop your bitterness. This is the first thing. Because that bitterness is messing him up. He's busy focusing on trying to fix, you know, those people that he believes they treated him bad, those people he believes they are talking against him, those people he believes that they are accusing him of being Tonga, because to him, being Tonga is making it look like it's a crime that, you know, you should not talk about it. He's messing it up. It's not that when we criticize Hakainde Hichilema, then we are condemning all Tongas. No, forget it. No. Some of us, we work closely with Tongas. We are very good friends, Tongas.
But other politicians have been blowing things out of proportion and generalizing the entire tribe. No, those must be condemned in the strongest terms. Of course, it's true. There are some who come out, you know, tribal, and I condemn that. I mean, I condemned Pota Tumfuani na Mdalava Kambwiri. Pota Tumfuani na sana ni hapo pene fya akukene fya kalia. Eko na pata problem. Even Nakachinda, earlier on, I said it. I even came here when he was arrested first time. Yes. I said, no, this kind of, I don't like. I don't like. But unfortunately, much as that is the case, I mean, President Hakainde Hichilema should not also assume that whoever criticizes him is criticizing the whole Tonga. Because even him now, he has even gone to an extent of calling others a clique of thieves, the hegemonies. He's also falling into the same trap of those others. You shouldn't bring up this. You shouldn't call people a clique of thieves. No, it's not right. It's not right. So I am totally against the tribalism. I think I deal with individuals. It's Hakainde Hichilema leading this country, and it's Hakainde Hichilema who I believe at the moment is too personal, is quite bitter, and is busy fixing individuals instead of fixing the economy. That is my advice to President Hakainde. Drop the bitterness, start dealing with the economy, and embrace all of us. We all have one solution that we can offer. So many questions that I have, but unfortunately, this is we have to blame it on the married man himself, because he had to wait for instruction before he could come to the studios.
No, blame it on my wife.
And yes, and we just want to, you can give us your concluding remarks, because we are coming to the end of our program, Mr. Tayari.
My closing remarks, really, I mean, we may speak with emotions and everything, but at the end of the day, we have only one Zambia. And this is not about who has more knowledge, who is more wise. I think this country cannot be sorted out by one man. This country has to be sorted out by all of us, including the media, the president, whatever, all of us. And we need to reach a level where we can listen to one another and not others assuming that they have the monopoly of knowledge. You can be president, but you can get something from Jaja Kulibali. I'm glad to meet Jaja Kulibali. I mean, this man, I've known him from a long time, and you know, a brilliant person. Even such people who will be able to give you something. So I think that's what we need. Let us embrace one another as Zambians, not always I. No.
Jaja Kulibali has been my guest today, my guest interviewer on this interview with Mr. Tayari. Your concluding remarks as well.
Yeah, I think I would just say we need to remain united as a country. I think what I also wanted my president here from EEP to touch on was also the issue of public security with the abductions, but time couldn't allow. Yeah, so yeah, we need to remain united as a country. The media also, we also have a responsibility to unite the country in whatever we write, air or publish. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Remember, ours is a platform for divergent views. We accommodate all views, be it from the opposition, from the government, from the general public. Our loyalty is always to the citizens. Until next time when we come with another interesting episode of the Camnet Breakfast, this has been Patrick Soko. Stay tuned. Keep watching Camnet TV.